Fashionably late, like usual. I need to get into a very important topic today, but I wanted to kind of touch on some other things as well. So anyway, I'm going to wait for you guys to roll in. Then I'm going to wait 20 seconds to make sure the sound is loud enough for you guys so you're happy. I want to make sure I'm not clipping, it's not too over the top. So I'll need you to let me know what is working and what is not. Let's see. Hi, Claudius. Hello, J Fusion. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Kevin. So, can you guys hear me okay? Is the volume too low again? I'm using a different microphone today because poor planning on my part. So, hi, Gary. Thanks for tuning in from Scotland. What time is it there? Hi, Mojave. I love your operating system. Anyway, let me know about sound if you can, please. I wanted to go in to tell you guys something. Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted to talk about a few things today, but so this topic about flatworms is a really, really important one. Even if you don't have that problem right now, I need you guys to commit it to memory and remember what to do in the future when you do end up with them in your tank. I recently saw, or someone contacted me through Facebook and said, hey, my tank is going downhill, my corals are dying, I just treated my tank with flatworm exit yesterday, and he did not follow the recommendations I have on my website. Now, I realize I don't sell flatworm exit, I don't invent it, I just have a method of using it because many years ago, it was a huge problem and everyone was dealing with flatworms. And because of the risk of them dying in the tank all at once during treatment, it really caused chaos in the reef. So it was so important for us to avoid being lackadaisical about it. Basically, we need you to be all in, you need to be on top of it, you need to be ready step by step by step so that nothing can go wrong because so much can go wrong so quickly when you're trying to get rid of flatworms. So like I said, very important topic. I have an article about it on my website. It's right here. I hope this works for us. Of course that didn't work. Let's try this. Does that work? Yes. So here is the article, How to Eliminate Flatworms. And these are what red planaria look like. They are a flatworm with 3 little points on the end. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Oh, yes, you can. And there's another with 3 points. This is another 3 points. This is the head end. This is the tail end, if that matters to you. So normally they'll just look like rust spots on your sand bed or on your rock work. You're like, what are those? This one right here on the green background is a benign one, which means it doesn't matter at all. It won't cause any harm. You might see 5, you might see 50. Yeah, a few weeks from now you won't see any. They just go away by themselves. This right here was my joke that I patented this. I did not. I just took some rigid airline tubing and I bent the tip of it over a match just to kind of heat it up and create like an angle. And then I pushed it into some soft airline tubing and then I jammed it into a bag and I put the bag in my sump, and these are all flatworms that are caught in here. So you can do the exact same thing if you're trying to eliminate them a little bit each day. And let me come back to you guys for a second here. Trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, so the flatworms that are on your tank, you know, they're just an eyesore. And in theory, they won't cause any harm, but they're hideous. And if you see 100, you probably have 400. You know, if you see 1,000 and you remove 1,000, you might see another 1,000. It's crazy how many are in the crevices of your rock work when you finally discover these guys. And they grow or they breed or they propagate themselves via food source. So if the food conditions are perfect in the tank, there's going to be tons of these flatworms. And at first you won't even notice them. And then suddenly you'll say, hey, what are those things in my rock? And they keep moving. And you're like, oh, okay, these are those flatworms. So these are called red planaria. And red planaria are, like I said, rust-shaped. They have the 3 points on the end, and they will usually come out in the light. And then when the lights turn off, they kind of recede or vanish again. And the next day they're out in bulk again. And like I said, they could cover an entire rock. They can cover the sand bed. When you take like a turkey baster, they'll blow right off because they're a flatworm. They're not holding on with glue. So it's not coralline algae. It's not some weird diatoms. You're literally dealing with a little pest. Now, here's the thing I want to show you guys next. So I'm going to come back to this screen. I'm trying to share my desktop. This is not easy. Let's see. So here's another good picture of those flatworms that I want you to see. This is a great picture. This is not what they look like to the naked eye. And when you are ready to remove them from your tank, I actually have a method down here at the bottom that tells you exactly how to treat the tank and what to do. So that's what I want to get into. But this article will be linked so where you can just read it and not have to watch a 1-hour video to learn what it's all about. But the bottom line is that you can definitely treat your tank and not worry about bad things happening. And that's what's so important, is that, you know, we all worry, oh my God, I don't want to let pests get into my tank. Now there is one, I want to solve it, but you don't want to go nuclear. You just want to solve the one problem because the rest of the tank is fine. So we want to go ahead and we want to treat the tank. So here is the steps that I recommend. And I'm actually operating all this off of memory because, you know, I dealt with it years ago. But first of all, the treatment, the recommended dosage that is on the product may not work for your tank. It may not be strong enough. So one of the best ways to know how much to use is to take a gallon of tank water and add a drop of flatworm exit to that gallon of tank water and put some flatworms in there and see if there's a reaction. If there's not a reaction, add another drop and stir it and see what happens. Basically, you're trying to figure out how many drops per gallon does it take to start killing flatworms. So you might discover it takes 3 drops per gallon or 5 drops per gallon, okay? So that's the first thing. Secondarily, the product itself, the medicine, is not what's going to hurt your tank. What's going to hurt your tank are the flatworms dying. That's why it's so super important that you siphon out as many as you possibly can out of your tank way before you think about treating the tank. So I actually recommend someone, especially if you're married or you have kids or roommate or whatever, use someone as a spotter because you'll be siphoning them out of your tank a little bit at a time and you'll kind of get flatworm blind. You just won't see them anymore. So if you can have someone else say, there's one, there's one, there's one, that really helps you keep going. And just do as much as you can tolerate till you can't stand it. You've sucked out 100, 200, 500, whatever. That's fine. Stop for today. And then the next day, do it again. And the next day, do it again. Basically for 7 days, remove every last one you can remove from the tank before you treat the tank. And that I cannot overemphasize enough. Now, with the airline tubing, you'll lose very little water. You can run the airline tubing straight into a bucket. And you might pull out in 20 minutes 1 gallon of water out of your reef, which should be nothing. It shouldn't be a factor at all. But you know, if you're using larger tubing, you're probably going to suck out all kinds of stuff, including hermit crabs and sand bed and all kinds of stuff. So I like to use the rigid airline tubing because it's only 3/16. Actually, internally, it might be 1/8 of an inch. And you just want to sneak up on the flatworm, basically, and it gets sucked out. They don't know to latch on necessarily, but you know, they can kind of hold on a little bit. But if you're using that rigid tubing, you can kind of get in there. Don't use something to blow them everywhere. Don't use a brush to brush them off because they'll just go everywhere. That's not removing them. That's just pissing them off. And when they start to die, it's sort of like Harry Carey, you know, back in World War II days, where they will commit suicide to cause as much destruction as possible. And you don't want to do that. Now, in that one picture I showed of the bag, right here, it's a bunch of brown rust spots. But if I were to aggravate those and really irritate them, what'll end up happening is they will explode in the bag and the whole bag turns orange and all that toxin releases into your sump. So that's why if you're going to use the bag method and you're going to just, because you want to keep using the same water, not waste any water, it's going to be really important that you sneak up on them and gently suck them out one by another and they just kind of like, oh, I'm in a new bag. Okay, it's cool. I don't mind. I'm all right. But if you are super aggressive and you're stabbing at them and stuff and you're really pissing them off, you could end up with a problem in your tank. So I would just, you know, if you're even slightly concerned you cannot do this a gentle way, then just have the tubing go out of the tank into a nearby bucket. That way, no matter what happens, it happens in the bucket and not inside your reef. Okay, so now that we have siphoned out 7 days worth of flatworms out of your tank, and we're talking about red planaria. I'm going to keep repeating that because that's the important one. That's the one we're dealing with. Other ones are different types. They're even larger, and we'll talk about that later. But now that you're ready to treat, the first thing you need to do is you need to make up a whole bunch of new salt water. A lot. You know, if you can make 33 gallons or 55 gallons of water at a time, that would be smart. I'd much rather you have a ton of salt water on hand in case things start going south so you can start changing water like there's no tomorrow. The second thing you need is carbon. You need carbon inside of a reactor, brand new, not used, not old, not been on the tank for a few days. It needs to be a brand new batch of carbon ready to go, but not hooked up yet. And then finally, you will go ahead and you will put an empty bucket in front of your tank, and you'll have the tubing ready to start siphoning once you treat the tank. So now that we know we've got salt water ready, we've got carbon ready, you can turn off your skimmer because you don't need that while you're putting in the medication. And you'll drip in the proper amount per gallon that's required to kill your flatworms, and you'll see the flatworms start to die instantly. They will start moving really quick, and the weirdest thing they do is they put out like a web or a string, and if you look at the string, there's a flatworm. Yeah, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I was on camera. There'll be a string, and there'll be a flatworm, and a flatworm, and a flatworm, and a flatworm. It's like a kite, or a chain of kites going off into the sky, and you'll see that string of these flatworms connected. It's very odd, and you can siphon those all out. So as they're dying, siphon them out. Keep siphoning them out nonstop for 15 minutes. As much as you can find, pull them out of the tank. And once they're out, once the 15 minutes is up, now it's time for you to turn on the skimmer, hook up the carbon, you want to change a bunch of water really fast. So pump out 25 gallons, pump in 25 gallons or more. Do this nice big water change. And then you're going to get your skimmer running, and you're going to install the carbon to start pulling out any kind of toxins from the water. If you don't handle it this way, you'll end up being like that person earlier this week who lost a bunch of corals because he just kind of put in the tank and did a small water change and thought, okay. And that's not how it works. It's way more intense. It's much more important to be on top of this one situation than other pests you might be dealing with, because they are just, I think what happens is they die, they release ammonia, and they're all releasing ammonia, and you got hundreds of them releasing ammonia at once, and then you start losing fish, and you start losing corals. So it's super important, and I wanted to definitely get into that today. So I hope that helped you guys. I know that was kind of quick. The article, like I said, will be linked in this video's description, and I'm happy to answer any questions specifically about this topic, or we can just get into other ones. I've got some more things to talk about today. But that one, I just wanted you guys to see and really know. This is not a minor one. This is a big one. Matter of fact, when he did what he did, I was shocked. I thought, wow, how did he not know this was crazy dangerous? So that's why I thought I've got a topic for Saturday. All right. Let me scroll up here and see what you guys wrote. Paul, thank you for tuning in from Wales. Wow. Okay, so I said I'd talk about other flatworms, so let me jump into that really quick. You can, somebody said, baby monitor fail, but I'm here. That's hilarious. There are different flatworms. There's also aeolids, which kind of look oval with a little split on one end, and you can have a lot of those, but those things, they're commensal. They basically live on corals, and they eat the slime on the coral. You might see them on leathers, you might see them on mushrooms, you might see them on candy cane corals. Those are pretty much the main, but you might just see them on the glass. And those you can siphon out as well. You can even remove them with a turkey baster if you wanted, because they're kind of a little bit bigger, so they need a larger orifice to remove from the system. But they don't cause chaos like red planaria. Also, they have these really big flatworms that are big enough to sit on the top of a mantle of a clam, and they eat the clam. Or they can go over a snail shell, and they will actually put their stomach into and eat the snail out of the shell, and then travel away, and the snail shell is empty. So those type of flatworms you're going to suck out, but you're going to need like a 1-inch piece of tubing because they're so large. And that's another flatworm you have to sneak up on, because if it knows what you're trying to do, it will glue itself to the glass or the overflow box really, really tightly, and you'll end up getting pieces of it. And every piece of it will keep moving like it's all alive. But you want to get the entire thing out of your tank if you find a large flatworm. All the flatworms I'm talking about are on my Critter ID page. Let me jump there really quick. Let's see what I got here for categories. Do I have a flatworm category? Might just be in the pests section. I'm scrolling. Okay, I found the aeolids. Let me do that really quick. So here are our aeolids. And you can see they're kind of larger with, like I said, a little split in the tail right here. And this one, they're just living on top of mushrooms. They're not doing any harm. They're just not pretty. Unless you like polka dotted mushrooms. And then, I want to see if I had these other, there's the red planaria. Where is my big one that eats clams? Oh, it's not in the pest section. Crazy. Well, maybe we'll find it under the predator section. Clams. I don't know where it is, but it's on my website. Oh my god, I just have to go through this website and keep updating. There's always something to do on there. All right. Let's see. Isaac says he asked an off-topic question really quick. So I will stick that on the screen here in a moment as soon as I can find my window. Do you run your calcium reactor 24/7? Absolutely. That thing runs around the clock all year long, except when I have to remove it long enough to clean it and put new media in or replace a CO2 tank. Other than that, it's always on. So let's see. All right, let us go to this question really quick. How do you remove vermitid snails? Vermitid snails make a hard calcified tube, and you can just snap those off with any kind of tool, tweezers, bone cutters, screwdriver, and then glue the hole shut. If you have dental tools, you can actually reach down into what's left after you broke off the main tube and kind of pry off the rest of its skeletal shell. Like for example, behind me on these return lines that are coming from the return pump, sometimes vermitids will grow on the side and they'll make an actual very pretty looking hard shell, and you can just pry that off with some kind of a chisel or plastic knife if you want, or a credit card, and you can snap that off of there because it's on a smooth surface. But in rocks it's a little harder to do, so the dental tool will actually get in there and snap it off. Okay, I wanted to tell you guys that I got the brand new iPhone 11 Pro, and it's great. I've been messing with it ever since it arrived yesterday, of course, and I wanted to show you a quick comparison. So here is the X, and here is the Pro. That's funny. Both screens are lighting up because of Face ID. They're both opening up. I'm like, stay dark, but they're side by side. They are literally identical in size. I mean, if they're anything, they're like 1 millimeter larger. I did not get the Max. I just wanted the Pro. I wanted one that fits one hand and I can text with one hand. And it's got the multiple cameras, and that has been exciting to people and concerning to people because they're all worried, what about when you use your Polyp Labs clip, will it work with this camera? And so I want to show you guys it absolutely will. So first I'll show you I'm going to remove the filter first of all, and I'm going to show you how it fit on the old camera, on the old phone. So it fit like this. Oh, you can't even make it out. All right, let me move this down a little bit so you can see the hole. All right, let's do this. Okay, so you can see there's like 3 little holes, and when I put it around the camera, it works out perfectly, right? And then I would screw on one of my 2 filters. Actually, I have 4. So I got orange, I got yellow, I got one that's a polarizer, and I've got one that's a magnifier. This is the other one that I use a lot. And sometimes I use 2 of them stacked together. So I'll actually combine them and shoot right through all of it. Now, I want to show you on the other phone, or on the new phone, how does it work on this one? Because we got the same scenario, right? So you got 3 holes, but you've got this much different configuration. Well, it turns out all you need to do is get around the first 2 cameras. So there you go. Now it is around the 2 cameras themselves. And of course you can have your filter on the front. And then when you're wanting to take a picture, you have both cameras that you can use. So on the, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if this will work. I'm not positive. It probably will not because streaming software does not like to pivot sideways. It just wants to give you a vertical shot. But let's see what we can do here. I'm going to close this too because we don't need it right now. All right, let's see. Can we do this? All right, so here we've got it in the normal camera mode, which is going to be the top camera right there where my fingertip is. There's a bottom camera below it that's out of the frame. If I hit the 2 button, that is using the secondary camera, which now it's using the lower camera right here and not the upper one, which is where my finger is covering. So you've got 2 there. If you try to use the 0.5 zoom part, you can't because it's being covered by the circle. Actually, you can jam it on there and kind of make it work. Ha! Didn't think that was going to work. Okay, so it can work no matter what you do. That's kind of awesome. But for normal stuff, you would just want to get it lined up properly around the subject. And so it does work. All right. So the reason I want to show you all this is because a lot of people have been saying, oh no, the new phone comes out, how am I going to use this? You can totally use this. I continue to use mine, and I highly recommend it. I sell it on my website, and I've got like 20 of them in stock, so don't hesitate to get one or think you need a different one. I know Polyp Labs was working on developing a new plastic part that would handle the 3 cameras. Technically, you probably could DIY yourself a larger hole maybe, and get the 3rd camera yourself. But for now, I mean, it worked perfectly. I did some pictures last night that I can show you guys. So we'll go here. Turn this sideways. So here's my reef last night with the iPhone 11 Pro. And it is nice and crisp. You can see all the Duncan polyps. And this was using the filter. And that's why my room looks a little bit orange around the anemone cube, because of the filter. And then, go back to you guys for a second. What else do I have on here? Now, a lot of people said, well, what about not using a filter? What would that look like? Well, it's going to look like blue. It's going to be hideous. You're going to hate it. So, but people are like, I need to see. I need to know. So here is a all blue picture, which I think looks like garbage. And that's why I would never share this. And here is another very blue picture. And this one came out okay because there's a lot of green in the frame. And this one's kind of all right, but it's still not great. And some Duncans. So if you are trying to, take pictures without a filter, you're going to get pictures like that. If you want to use a filter, then you will get a picture like this one right here. That looks great. I mean, it's beautiful. Look at that. You can see all the little dots. It's amazing. So I'm very pleased with that. Let's see, do I have any other good pictures for you? Oh, I took a couple of anemone pictures last night, anemone cube pictures. This one here came out pretty good. So you can kind of see some of the polyps and tentacles. And my clownfish that I've had for a very long time. And what else do I have? Oh, this is another nice one I liked. That came out pretty cool. And that was with all the flow on. If you stop the flow, your picture is going to be even better. All right. Hope you found that slightly interesting, because I'm all about getting the latest iPhone. And a lot of people say to me, oh, that's such a waste of money, or it's way too much money, or I want it next year, I don't want this year's, I want to be more impressed. And I'm just like, really? Because every year, a new phone comes out with new features. It may not be as many as you want, but there's still a ton of new features that will benefit you. And I'm on the Apple plan where you get a new phone every year. And you just make a monthly payment for 12 months, and then you trade in your old phone. This one will get shipped back, and you'll have a brand new one. And every year I get a brand new one. And I love it. And I mean, okay, so what's the real dollar amount I'm spending? For the last phone I spent 12 months paying was $64.50. My new phone that I just started using as of yesterday, $64.50 for 12 months. That's less than $800 for the year. So I just don't see it as a big expense or a big thing. And when people are like, oh, I still have my 5 and it works fine, I'm just like, wow, that thing is like 6 years old. I can't believe the battery even keeps up at this point. So, oh, another cool thing I learned about the iPhone 11 Pro, it's so hard to remember the whole name now, is that it has 4 more hours of battery life. I'm just like, yes, I definitely want that. So the switching over was super easy. All I had to do was put this phone near that phone, and it transferred over the main information it needed to get me connected back with my carrier. And then after a little bit of time, it was authorized, and I could hook it up to iTunes, and I spent 2 hours downloading 320 gigs of data from the old phone onto the new phone. So there's a lot of videos and pictures, lots and lots and lots. So I wanted you guys to hear a little bit about that, because I know it's been a concern. People have been really worried about the not being able to use their gels, and they're like, what am I going to do? And even I was like, I shoot video of tanks all the time. What am I going to do? And it worked fine. I was like, okay. No big deal. That's what I was hoping to hear. Also, I added some new stuff to my website. I'm going to show it to you real quick since I don't have it nearby, and I'm using a microphone that does not let me walk away. So we will go to the front page. And let's see. Some of it's visible and some of it's not. Of course, of course, of course. So on the website, some of you may have started ordering the Nero 5 guards. Come back here. Let me scroll up so I can make it come back. Okay, so here's a Nero 5 guard. This is a 3D printed guard that goes around your pump and keeps all the snails and anemones and things out of your pump. And I just got in 75 more for the shop. So if anyone needs one, I got them in stock. And I ship these for $6. So if you buy from my website, and the website charges you $15 or $20, not 20, but $18, don't worry, I'll refund you everything back to $6. So that's the easiest way for me to handle it with my website at this time. I'm sorry, it's kind of an additional hassle. You're paying a little bit more up front, but I'll reimburse you as soon as your product ships. The second thing that I added was the VCA vacuum attachment nozzle that goes on the MaxiJet. So this, you can barely make it out. Let me go to the next picture. This is the attachment that goes onto a MaxiJet, and then use some tubing, and you can put the tubing into a bucket or into a filter sock, and then you can go ahead and pump out all of the detritus that's down in your sump. So I ordered in some of these for the website, and I think that you'll like using that. I use mine quite often. I found it to be very beneficial. It's only $10. I think this one here would not be a problem shipping for $6 as well. And then finally, under dry goods, I added this finally. I actually got these in a week ago and mentioned them and forgot to put them on the website. So the bulk Nori pack is here. This is 100 sheets of Nori, and it's $39 on the website. So if you were looking for a source of Nori, this comes from Two Little Fishies. I know you can get stuff elsewhere. I know you can get better deals. I'm just letting you know it's on the website in case you're looking for a bulk pack. I offer it now. And I guess I should put on the screen somewhere. Put this on here. So please shop my website. I do appreciate your business, and I'm always looking for ways to provide things that you can use in your tank, just like I use. So I mean, I got the bulk packs for myself and for my tanks, and I thought, well, let me get a bunch for the shop as well, and that's exactly what I did. So that's why you're seeing me sell it, because I'm trying to offer you the same things that I believe in, and that's pretty much how I run my business. Martin, I want to thank you for the super chat. That was super nice of you. And I'm going to spend all of it at once. All right. So anyway, let me see if I can answer some questions now. I've kind of covered some of the things that matter to me today. And now that I've covered that, oh, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. Thumbs ups are always appreciated. Let's see. All right, let's tackle this. Michael Wells says, in your experience, how long would it take for an ACAN to open up? I bought a colony yesterday, but it's not open yet. Water parameters are as follow. Nitrates are 15, phosphate 0.1, calcium 440, alkaline 9.2, magnesium 1580. So your magnesium is really high, and that could be affecting your ACANs. Also check your salinity, make sure that's accurate. Your magnesium needs to come down, and that's not an easy solution. If the new batches of salt water you mix and add to the tank have high magnesium, your magnesium will never come down. I'm not saying your ACANs won't get used to it and finally open up. They may, but that is a very high number. That also is so high it would affect your snails. It actually makes their foot atrophy and they stop moving. So you want to be sure that you're keeping that magnesium level somewhere lower. I mean, I like 1400, but the ocean is 1280. So 1300 to 1400 is my goal range. I would come off of that 1540 and maybe, or 1580. And you know what, even double check it. Make sure that number's correct. You know, do that test 3 times in a row and divide it by 3 and see if you still get 1580. That might be good to know. Speaking of testing and mistakes, there was a guy in Club Miller's Reef. Let me throw this on here really quick. Ah, it's not it. This one. So bad at this. Okay, Club Miller's Reef is a really great group on Facebook that I run, and it's all full of helpful people. We don't allow anyone to be mean or aggressive or attack you. We just delete them. And we've had a great group. We've got like 5,500 people in there. So someone this week posted, oh my God, my alkalinity is shot up. I started dosing. I put in, a certain amount, and the number's at 15 now, DKH. And what am I going to do? And a lot of people were posting solutions like do this, read Mark, Mark mentioned you should use white vinegar. I mean, there was a lot of opinions, and and this was like a 30-minute conversation, you know, like by the time I saw it, it had been going for about 30 minutes. And so my question was, what is the alkalinity right this minute? Because I had a feeling he had a false reading based on what I'd read in all the posts. It seemed like he put in a very little amount, like maybe 7 ml in a 100-gallon tank. And I just didn't think his alkalinity could jump like that. Well, what had actually happened, if I remember the story correctly, is because he was doing all of his tests and he had all of his vials out and all of his bottles out, he actually mixed a couple of bottles from 2 different kits, like one from the calcium and one from the magnesium, and swapped them and did his tests, and he got this weird reading. And when he realized he'd used the wrong reagent and he swapped it back to what belonged, his alkalinity had not budged. The reason I'm bringing this up is if you get a weird reading, the first thing you want to do is double check that reading. You know, look at everything in front of you, see if there's any chance you made a mistake before you make a change on the tank. Because if he had added white vinegar trying to drop alkalinity, he might have actually started killing his corals because the number was fine and now it's dropping like a rock because he's adding a chemical trying to, you know, vinegar, trying to solve a problem that actually isn't a problem at all. So the number one rule I always say to anyone, when you test your water and you get a weird reading, is look at the livestock and see if it's okay. You know, stare at the LPS corals, look at the fish, look at the SPS polyps. Is anything sliming? Is anything stressed? Is anything turning brown and sloughing off? You know, how is the livestock doing? If everything's okay, then let's start looking at those numbers one more time and see if maybe the test was done incorrectly, or the kit has expired, or you mixed up reagents like this one person did. So I want to just tell you guys about that because it can happen to all of us. It can happen to me. I try to keep everything inside a box, and when I'm done with that kit, I put it out of the way and I grab the next box and pour it across my counter and get at all those little reagents and check again. So I just wanted to share that story with you because I felt it was very important. Phone Reefer is asking for a Mindstream update. All right, so I didn't really want to get into this, but since you brought it up. I've been having a problem with my monitor not staying connected to my Wi-Fi network. And I contacted Mindstream and said, look, I don't know what's going on. I've tried everything you've recommended. It's just not staying connected. I have to keep teaching it my network. It's a real hassle. And I want to like this product, and I want to say good things about it, but it's frustrating me, and it makes it really hard for me to, you know, support this product when there's an issue. And so I was on a conversation, a text conversation with the engineer, and he would tell me try this, and I kept filming everything and sending him video clips, you know, 1 minute long, and showing him what it was doing. And he says, okay, I'm going to push a firmware update to you, and that's going to solve everything. And my Mindstream wouldn't accept it. So what we came to the conclusion was, I have done everything in my power to make it operate, and I shipped it back yesterday, and they're sending me a new one. So that is the update. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, and I would much rather say, oh my God, I love it, it's amazing, but right now I'm a little frustrated. And yeah, it's okay. I mean, not everything's going to work all the time. And I was saying, well, I'm really glad we're discussing this and we're handling this, because if anyone else has this similar situation, you'll know how to have solved it. And he says, well, yeah, ideally that would be great, but you're the only one with this problem. And once he said that, I started thinking, well, then maybe I have a lemon. Maybe I need a new one that works. You know, maybe there's an actual defect within here, or a bad something, you know, bad memory card, or a bad Wi-Fi signal receiver. I don't know what's in it. So anyway, they're replacing it. So that's the update. Was that too honest? Please let me know. I don't know. Like I said, they've been trying to get this to market for so long. It's now at market. People are buying it. And I don't want to undermine their business. I just want mine to work. So, all right. Quit asking me difficult questions, people. Oh my God, I'm so funny. My back still hurts a lot. I had to go get a CAT scan on Thursday, and now I'm going to wait for the surgeon to contact me to schedule a visit to discuss my options. I have a feeling my options are going to be, are you going to the gym? Are you? And you know what? I mean, I don't mind going to the gym. I was just a little worried I was going to do the wrong exercise and make it worse. And so far I've been told there's really not a lot you can do that's wrong, that's going to hurt it. So I'll probably as soon as I have some time. But see, I've got an Aquashella shirt on today because I'm leaving town on Friday for Aquashella in Chicago. All of you are invited. All 55,000 of you are invited. I know that not all of you will make it, but I wish 49,500 would attend. That would be great. That would blow them away. But Aquashella is an event with saltwater and freshwater and art and music and liquor. I mean, I don't know. There probably is liquor. But, you know, I mean, it's super fun. Everything glows. It's really, really cool. I mean, like I say glows. I mean, literally, they have the lighting all crazy blue. And, you know, so corals look great. But then they have all this art on the wall, and they have paintings, and they have, you know, this whole, like, forest you go through that's all, it feels like you're walking through the forest on Avatar, the movie. And it's really enjoyable, and it's comfortable, and there's a lot of people, and it's a lot of fun. So I would definitely recommend, if you can come to it in Chicago, please do. This is the second time in Chicago. And I'm speaking on Saturday with Dwayne, and we're talking about aquascaping. I'm building a brand new presentation that I think is going to be really well received. I went to Club Milo's Reef and I asked everyone, if you were hearing a presentation on aquascaping, what kind of things would you want answered? And I have about 10 or 15 great questions, and we're going to tackle those and kind of debate them between the two of us. And we've got a whole bunch of pictures and video clips to share that will really benefit the audience. So I know everyone always says, is it going to be filmed? And probably not. But you know, come to Aquashella. Come, quit staying at home. Get in your cars and go places. So I want to invite you to that. And I think it's pretty cheap. 15, 20 bucks to get in, maybe. I'm not positive of the price. Also on Sunday, we're doing Celebrity Jeopardy, and I'm the host. I get to be Alex Trebek, and it's going to be great fun. Somehow we're going to squeeze the entire game into less than an hour. I'm not even sure how we're doing it because there's so many questions we've come up with. It's going to have George, Coral 12G. It's going to have Joey Mullen from King of DIY. And it's going to have Mindy from Mindy's Reef. Those are the 3 contestants. And I'm going to ask the hard questions. So that should be a lot of fun. And so that's on the second day. So come both days. All right. I hope that was a huge plug that benefits the event and everyone shows up. Gary, I have done surgery once already. That's why I have a slice on my neck, and they put a disc in there. We're going to find out what's going on inside my body to decide what needs to be done or where I'm at or what I need to consider. But for now, the MRI was not enough information, so now we need to look at the structural, skeletal situation and see if something is just sitting on top of something, which it probably very well is. I've been in so much pain, and I'm not a big complainer. You know, I've mentioned it to you guys because I like to keep you up to date, but it's been awful. And I'm still getting orders out. You know, I'm not as fast as I like to be. And I just checked last night. I looked at my whole list of who's waiting for an order, and there's 8 of you waiting for stuff. The rest of it, I've caught up. I'm doing good. You know, I'm just dealing with the pain. I take a leave, you know, and I try to crack things from time to time to see if it'll help a little bit. But my dad says, whatever you do, do not grow old. So I'm trying to obey him. I'm not going to grow old. I refuse. Because apparently you fall apart. All right. Wilkin, I was joking. I had someone ask me last night, hey, Mark, I want to take some anemones and put them inside this predator tank because I need the room in my reef. And I thought I could put them in there. Can I put them in with these animals, you know, like a blue-faced angel and a lionfish and an eel and something else? And I was like, I don't know. Ask someone smarter. I don't pretend to say I know all the answers. I know some answers. I know a lot of answers, but I don't know them all. And so I told him to find somebody smarter. And you know, of course he says, but you're the one that knows things. Like, yeah, there's people out there that know more than I do. That's for sure. So, okay. Vitality says, quick question about flatworm exit. Does it help with all kinds of flatworms? I've got Waminoa worms and I need to get rid of them. As far as I know it does. Again, the perfect test would be to take some of those flatworms and put them in a jar or you know, a container of 1 gallon of water and add the flatworm exit and see what happens. If they start moving really fast, if they start crinkling up like potato chips, it's working. And that's the best answer I can give you on that one. It's good to test outside of your aquarium. Don't put it in your tank and expect magic to happen, because what if something goes wrong? That would be dangerous. Okay. Did I miss any other questions in here? Looking for an easier way to test water. Any thoughts on the Neptune option? Well, if you're talking about the Trident, I love my Trident, and I run it 4 times a day to measure my water, and it measures my alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. Today, the Neptune systems software, Apex Fusion, told me there was an update for the AOS, which is Apex Operating System. And so I was like, all right, let me update. And I click update. And then I look at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, it's 12:15. My Trident is running right now. And I just told this thing to update its firmware. Stop, abort, quit. And I hit the X and it stopped. And I was like, okay, boy, I almost messed that up. And then about a minute later, my Apex still rebooted and restarted the tank. And I thought, oh. So I don't know if it messed up the Trident. I don't know if it updated the AOS. I've sent a message to Neptune to see if there's anything that I might have borked by aborting a firmware update right in the middle of an update. So I don't know. But back to your specific question, yeah, the Trident is awesome because it's allowing me to measure alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. And with the numbers that it reports, it can control what your stuff is dosing. And so if you had a doser for alkaline, calcium, and magnesium, you could say if alkalinity is if magnesium is 1580, which is just a random number from this presentation, stop dosing magnesium. You know, you can actually put a code in there and stop it. So if your alkalinity gets too low, it could send you a text and say, hey, alkalinity is measuring 6. You know, you'll get a measurement warning, and you can go check and say, oh wow, things are off. I need to make a correction. I need to unclog this tube. I need to replace this dosing pump. You know, so it's nice to have that type of information, and having my Trident connected to my calcium reactor is controlling my calcium reactor and keep my alkalinity very close to 9 all the time. It's probably been the most stable my tank has been in forever. So I've really enjoyed it. I think I've had mine for about 6 months now. And I was doing beta testing with them in the beginning. And, you know, I just got some more reagents in a couple days ago. And I got to swap those out today. All right. Gary says, are you still running NOPOX? And if so, how is that going? I'm on the last bottle. It's down there. And it's probably 3/4 full. It's only dosing in about, I think it's 16 ml per day, and I think I'm going to bring it down to like 10. I'm going to just taper my tank off of it entirely. For the most part, and what the other thing is, you know, the whole reason for dosing it was to reduce nitrate. And I've got 6 different ICP tests I want to mail in. They're actually all right there in the background. That's all the kits. And all of those are going to be shipped in. And whoever does measure nitrate, I'm hoping to see what their numbers say in comparison to what my 2 test kits say for that number. But the overall impression, it probably did the job. It was so messy. I didn't like that part at all, that I don't see myself using it again. And I also, I had some coral losses, you know, like things that turned really pale from whatever reason, some kind of an overdose, basically. I mean, that's basically what it felt like, an overdose. It's not some big catastrophe. I mean, you guys see my reef, it's gorgeous, but there's like a spot here I'm not happy, a spot here I'm not happy. There's a little piece of Monty right here that had color, and now it's just white. It's just done. I got to reach in there and pull it out. So, kind of out. You know, I just don't see the point. Debbie says, have you tried acupuncture? No, I have not. Michael, the problem with sending Tridents to the UK is that you get the Trident, but now you don't have the reagent because they don't ship the reagent. And sometimes the problem is that you can't send that chemical across international waters, apparently. So that would be a problem. You'd almost have to be like a visitor, came to the US and got your Trident, or had a friend that shipped you one. But the point is, you need the reagents. And so you need to get like a stash of those as well so you can run your machine. Plus, you have to have the new Apex so it'll have the right power source connected because it uses the 1-link cable. So keep that in mind as well. But I'm sure as soon as they can start selling them into the UK, they will do so. Why would they want to only limit it to certain people? They have no desire to do that. But there's a lot of people that want it here in the US, and so everyone's, you know, tooth and nail trying to get one. All right, any other questions, guys? I might wrap this one up early today. I have a trip I have to go on to go visit my family. So I'm about to hop in the truck and drive south. Hello, Cuban Reefer. You just joined now. I'm assuming that everybody is been with Tidal Gardens instead of this live stream today. But because these live streams save and save to YouTube to where they're watched later, I knew this topic would still reach a lot of people and not just the 170 people that are on right now. And that way we could benefit more people. If you know anyone's dealing with flatworms, please point them to this video or at the very least to my article on my website. And you can just type in red planaria, Milo's reef in Google, or you can type in flatworms, Milo's reef, and it will find my article very quickly, which is, you know, why it's there. It's there to help you guys. Paul says, I have a reef tank. If it's really 6 by 2 by 2, that's not 150 gallons. That's 180 gallons. Nitrate is 0 and phosphate is 3. 3? 0.03? 0.3? 3.0? Everything is good. I have 35 fish in the moment. Maybe it is 3. And I'd like to get more. Any thoughts? Well, okay, if it's 35 huge tangs, that's a problem. If it's 35 adorable royal grommas, no problem at all. It comes down to the bio load, how many fish, you know, the total mass of how many fish are in the tank. You know, can it support all that much life? My own reef, my 400-gallon reef, does not have 35 fish in it right now. I think it has 34. So yeah, keep that in mind. If your phosphates really are 3.0, you need to dose phosphate RX in your system to remove the phosphates because that's way too high. And of course it's high because you're feeding a lot of fish and you're trying to keep them happy. But it leads to algae problems. 3.0 and above, it starts to, the phosphate gets into the rock and into the sand, and it will keep leaching out forever. It basically absorbs it, locks it up, and then as you're trying to remove it, it keeps coming out of the rock, and it seems like you're making no progress. So you definitely want to bring that number down. Michael, I would not buy a Trident from eBay. Because, like you just said, because they're charging double. And there's no reason for you to pay double for a product. You should just pay the regular price. That's how it should be. Furlock says, do you ship to the UK? I do ship items to the UK. And all I have to do is know your postal number, and I can get a quote and let you know what it would cost. I ship things there quite often now. Glenn says, I have placed a bristletooth tang in my aquarium 6 months ago, and I'd like another fish to graze on algae. Is it quite safe to introduce a yellow tang or another type? Yeah, when you're adding different tangs to a tank, it would be ideal if you could make sure their body shape is not the same. So like putting a purple tang with a yellow tang, they're very similar in shape. That could be aggressive. That could be a problem. The bristletooth tang is a totally different shape from the yellow tang or a Nassau tang or a unicorn tang, and so they usually will get along just fine. At the very least, you could consider using the Peacemaker, which is an acrylic product I offer, that you set in the tank and you put your brand new fish in that box for up to 3 days minimum. I usually say 3 days and I'm done, but minimum 3 days. And then that allows everyone to see each other, but they can't fight. And then when after 3 days has passed, you're feeding the tank and you pour that fish out, and everyone just kind of gets along. So that should work. I've had no aggression problems because of that method, and so I do recommend that. But I like to mix up the shapes of the different fish when it comes to tanks so that there's less hostility. Vivid Creative Aquatics is here. I talked about your goodies earlier. You're too late. Let's see. John says, are you able to ship an ATO reservoir to Indiana, or is shipping still crazy? No, actually, that wouldn't be too bad. It comes down to the size of the top-off container. So if you can contact me via my website, it's Contact Us. Just click on that, and you can just type in the size you want. I need to know the width, the depth, and the height you want, and then I'll give you a quote, and I'll let you know what it costs. But it won't be bad. I ship a lot of top-off containers. Okay, good. Paul says this phosphate is 0.03. That is awesome. I'm so much happier to hear that. Good, yeah, add some more fish. Go nuts. Did you have to reduce your flow on the Clarity due to noise? No, there's really no noise at all from the Clarity. The biggest noise that I've had to encounter, unfortunately, has been how the water exits my refugium into my return zone. I did the teeth a little different on that particular sump, and I now regret it and wish I had not. There's no real easy solution. Obviously, I'll think of something at some point and make a change, but for now, I've turned the flow down in the refugium to make the sump nice and quiet. And everything's running behind me, and I don't know how much you guys are picking up on this mic. I mean, this isn't a great microphone, but it's... I mean, I can hear the air coming, the air conditioner above me, so the tank's not that loud, is my point. I don't even know what the decibels are, but they're super low. I can carry a conversation, I can watch TV. I have no problem at all. The only time it's too noisy in here to watch TV is when I run the dehumidifier, when it's got that big fan blowing out the back. So, yeah, no, I haven't had to reduce anything on it. I just need to change the roll occasionally. Let's see. Sean says, it's okay, I am here. You can start now. So, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm probably blowing out the mic today. Yeah, I want that check. Could you please have them mail me a fresh one? That would be great. I didn't run into anyone at Macna that would hand me a check. I don't know what happened, but yeah, we need to get that check. Does Phosphate RX affect your Caulerpa? Not at all. Phosphate RX I've been using nonstop for over 10 years. I love saying I've been using it for a decade. It means forever. And I use that as the only way to keep phosphates out of my tank. I don't use any other product. I don't use GFO. Now I know Nopox can do it, but I'm not relying on the Nopox to do it. I rely on Phosphate RX. And I use it 5 times a year. And I got this huge, I'm not going to call it a debate, but this guy was really like, oh, that's way too expensive, you shouldn't use that. And I love Phosphate RX because it's just a small little bottle. Matter of fact, on my website, right here on the side, you'll see, what can you see? Let me scoot this over so it's visible. So there is my how to dose Phosphate RX video right on my website. And it's just a small bottle. I mean, I know you can't really make it out there. But anyway, it's a very good product that I've been using for some time. I'm trying to find my window. Sorry, guys. I know the mouse is going crazy. You just drip it in, and I count in whatever drops I need. You know, I add 180 drops or so. It takes me 2 minutes to do that. And then my tank's phosphate drop like a rock overnight while everything is asleep and nobody knows what's going on. The next day, my water's crystal clear, my phosphates are low, and I don't think about it for another 8 to 10 weeks. I mean, that is the simplest thing ever. Now, yes, I could use something like Phosban L, which costs less money or goes further, but I have to mix it, and I have to dose it very carefully. And Phosphate RX is just easy, so I like it. And to have to buy 2 bottles a year for my 400-gallon reef is no big deal. So when people are like, oh, you could do cheap, I'm like, yeah, or I could use what makes me happy. Just like I could get a different phone, but I got this one because it makes me happy. I chose it. Somebody actually was making fun of me on, everyone makes fun of me on Facebook. And they said, oh, enjoy your new iPhone with your Samsung screen. And I thought, that's such a weird thing. I mean, I don't even understand the whole competition thing. I like the iPhone, that's why I use it. I've been using the iPhone since the 2, and I have no desire to go to Android. I don't care. I have something that works. I'm just getting the newest one. But if Samsung makes a screen, I don't care. That's like saying, oh, good luck with that polycast acrylic that Trigger Systems used for that sump. It's like, okay, so it was used from a brand of acrylic. You know, I mean, who cares? The sump is the sump. If the sump doesn't leak and if it's well made, that's great. Whether you get it from Trigger Systems or Milov's Reef or Ice Cap or Geo, I mean, there's a lot of companies on the market that make sumps, but we're all using acrylic. So to say, oh, that glass was made by another company, I just don't care. Anthony says, is there any way to stop aggression between my Clarkie and 2 Ocellaris clownfish in the 220 with 5 anemones? No, because Clarkies are aggressive, mean clownfish. They are going to be like that forever. That's why you really can't put different species of clowns in the same tank. It needs to be all one family from the beginning. And so I recommend to people, if you want to have a clownfish tank and you want to have, this harem, then get all of the fish from the same breeder at the same age. Like if he can give you 6, 12, 16 6-month-old clownfish, put them in your tank and enjoy the view. It'll be fantastic. After some time has elapsed and they've gotten bigger and more mature, they may start chasing each other out of the tank and you'll be down to less than you started. But you can scoop the ones out that are being bullied and put them in a different system. My anemone cube here to my left has 14 clownfish in it. There's one large orange clownfish, and then all the rest came from a breeder here in Dallas. And they are just in there living their lives. And I started with more, and I basically had to rescue about 5 out of that tank that were being bullied. And I moved several into the frag tank. And I had one in the refugium forever that you guys saw in lots of videos. And finally, I put it back in this tank, and they're actually all getting along. It was kind of hiding in the front corner, and now it's back in the tentacles, so that's good news. But to take some Ocellaris and some Perculas and some Clarkie and some tomatoes, it's not going to work out. It looks great for a few minutes. It's not a long-term choice, so don't do that. Let's see. Hugo says, how to solve alkalinity unbalance from a calcium reactor. So I'm sure you're talking about an imbalance like your alkalinity is not matching your calcium levels. You may need to dose the lacking element to get it up, and then the calcium reactor can maintain it. But to use the calcium reactor to like bring everything up at once may not work exactly like that. My tank tends to be lower on calcium than other people's. According to the Trident, my calcium is always less than 400. And the range is 375 to 450, so I'm still within range. But if I were to mix up some calcium and dose that in to bring it up to like 425, maybe things would be even better. Who knows? But my calcium levels have been about the same. It's usually around 390, 400, whatever, somewhere in there all year long. So I just run a calcium reactor. But if you are hooking one up and you're not seeing the numbers correctly, you may need to dose something to correct it, and then the calcium reactor can continue it. No, I didn't lose it. Apparently I never cached it, which means I don't know where it is. So yeah. Someone from, I don't think it was you, someone contacted me from the club and says, hey, you never cashed your check, we're going to give you a new check at MACNA, and it just didn't happen. So yeah, it'd be nice to get that. Coral Lover S says, can I use Phosphator X more often and in smaller amounts to keep the numbers low? Yeah, you absolutely could. You could use it weekly. And you could just use a maintenance dose, so to speak. And you probably want to use a filter sock. They have I sell 10 micron socks. And you just install those in your sump. And as the water drains, it catches the flocculant immediately. So your tank doesn't become a big cloud. And it works very well. And you could do that every single week. I don't know about daily, but you know, it really comes down to how much you want to do. See, for me, the reason I like it is it's easy and I can do it occasionally. But if you're like, I love doing stuff with my tank every day and I want to put in a drop every single day, yeah, you can go ahead and do it and see what it does. I don't see a problem. It's just we want to use the right amount for how much your tank needs. So if your tank needs 100 drops, does that mean you're going to use 100 every day? No. Is it going to use, you need 100 the first time. But could you do 10 drops a day for 10 days in a row and get the same effect? You'd have to test and let me know, because I've never done that. Let's see. Yes, I'm absolutely going to be there. Be sure you come up and say hi to me. Okay, so when I'm at these shows, everyone says, oh, you're so busy, and I didn't want to interrupt you. You can definitely say hi to me. Just grab me for a second and say, hey, you know, my name is this, and this is the tank I have, and you know, my favorite video you did is this. I mean, whatever, you know, just, you know, let's catch up. I actually am there to meet everyone. That's why I go to these things. I enjoy it. So feel free. Don't feel too shy. I'm just a normal guy, and hopefully you will be happy that our conversation went well. Reef and Dive, thank you so much. I appreciate it. He just gave me a super chat. Patrick says, my snowflake clowns have been together for about 6 months, but for the last week they've been fighting back and forth. I've seen the larger one submit to the smaller one. Any idea why? Apparently they haven't figured out who's the girl and who's the boy quite yet, but I think they'll work it out. I don't think you're going to end up having one dead fish. So hang in there on that one. But I would just kind of keep an eye on things. If you have to separate them or pull one out, you could, but you shouldn't have to. It should be okay. Today is water test Saturday. I want everyone to test your tank. I need to test mine before I head out of town. I want to make sure everything's up and up. I've got the Trident, will give me a report, but I like to grab my test kits. I have them right. Well, I can't reach it. It's behind everything. So here are my kits, and I'm going to measure everything really quick and then get on the road and make sure that my tank is nice and healthy. I like to put all of my statistics in Reef Trace, which is an app I'm a partner in. So if you guys haven't got that app yet, you should get it. Last time I checked, it was $4.99, and it tracks all of your water parameters. It does beautiful graphing. It gives you the ability to share those graphics with other people. The LFS Finder is fantastic in there. It has Critter ID embedded in it. There's a bunch of good stuff to use inside that app, and so I do recommend it to everybody, and I hope that you like it. Guys, I am going to log off now because I want to get some stuff done and then hop in my car and go see my son. So I want to wish you guys a happy weekend. There will not be a live stream next weekend because I will be at Aquashella. And of course, you're all invited like I told you before. Don't forget, you're invited. And you can just say at the door, Milov made me come. That's fine. That would be great. And if you need to reach me, you can always reach me via email on my website. You can just click the Contact Us. You can message me via this page right here. That is my business page on Facebook, facebook.com/MilovsReef. And you can just send me a direct message if you need to right there. You can also reach out to me inside Club Milovs Reef because I answer a lot of questions in there, especially if I'm tagged. Be sure you tag me in the post. That way I'll see it. And I love it when you guys share things about your tanks. When you show pictures of your livestock or the new fish you got or the new product you're trying out, I like to follow that and see what's going on. So yeah. Tag me. Let me see what's going on. All right, guys. Glenn, thank you very much. I'm going to add this to the screen as the last thing of the video. Thank you so much for another super chat. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys really, really soon.